What is going on to all my horror fans out there, and welcome back to my channel Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early Netflix movie review, and today we are discussing 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is a sequel to the 1974 The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and also the 9th film in this franchise. I got a chance to check it out early, and I'm really excited to let you all know what I thought about the sequel and if it's worth checking out on Netflix on Friday, all in this spoiler-free review. Before we break it all down, make sure you all are checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, we are on the quest to 20,000 subscribers, so if you want to be a part of this awesome community, make sure you're subscribed and you're hitting that notification bell. As you can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this spoiler-free review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, well, make sure to like this video, but also share it to all the horror fans you know out there. But more importantly, once you sat down and watched this on Netflix, whether it's on this Friday, over the weekend, or whatever you've seen the film, what did you think? Let's talk about your pros, your cons, favorite moments, favorite kill. What were some moments that didn't work for you all? And then I have a question. I've seen 5 of the 9 films in this franchise now, and I'm a fan, I'm a casual fan, but I want to know, for you all that have seen maybe all 9 films of the franchise, which is your favorite? If it's not 1974, which is your favorite in the franchise? I'm talking reboots, prequels, sequels. Let me know your favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre film in the comments below. So hey, like I said, I'm a casual fan. I've seen 5 of the films of the franchise. I actually just recently revisited 1974, literally last night, which, hot take here. I prefer, I'm not saying it's better, I respect 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, especially what it did to the genre of slasher films, you know, that and Halloween in the 70s. It revolutionized slasher films. I appreciate it. But I prefer 2003's Jessica Biel over the original. I'm not saying it's better, I just prefer it. And since we're talking about this film, which happens to be produced by Fede Álvarez, who directed another film that was a reboot, Evil Dead, I prefer his Evil Dead over Sam Raimi's. I know. But either here or there, let's get into talking about this movie and talking off with my positives. I will say I consider Leatherface to be somewhat interchangeable on the Mount Rushmore of slasher icons. You know, I have Michael's my guy. He's my guy. You know, I have Ghostface on that mountain. I have Freddy on that mountain. And I can interchange Leatherface and Jason on that mountain. But I'm a fan of Leatherface, neither here nor there. And I will say, as a fan of that character, and if you're a fan of the character, I personally don't think you're going to be disappointed with Leatherface in this film. Minus what he's been doing for the last 50 years, the actual brutality of the character is all the way there. And I'm someone that I've grown up in horror. Slasher is my favorite genre, subgenre within the horror genre, and I judge slasher films off of the character, that's our iconic slasher, in this case Leatherface, and also the kill and the body count. And it's pretty high and it's pretty entertaining in this film. From the very first kill in this movie, which was very brutal and just like very like, oh, okay, this is what we're getting into. We're not holding back, which I appreciated too. And I won't get into the depths of in the trailer we see that there are a bunch of people with their cameras, and you can get canceled, bro. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The actual scene is the highlight of the entire movie. The brutality, it's like a 7-minute scene, and it is, I mentioned Evil Dead and how I think Fede Álvarez, you know, the blood count, that's the most blood I've ever seen in the movie. I'll say that it has the most blood, but this film is a pretty high contender. There's a lot of blood in that bus scene, and it does not disappoint. It is the highlight of the film. So just saying, the best part of this film to me, Leatherface came to play ball, and the kills were top notch. So I do want to, you know, give kudos to the directors, the set designs, the costume and hair and makeup. They did their thing. Like the practical effects, the kills were on point in my personal opinion. Which also, a little detail that I want to mention, because I literally just watched 1974's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the first time in a very long time. I'm a stickler for detail, and knowing that this is doing the Halloween thing where it's like picking up, you know, this is the sequel to the original. The other films are not canon, but this one, it is a follow-up to the original. If you all have seen the original, you know, at the end of the film, Leatherface, you know, has the wrench thrown at him by the way. Did the truck driver in 1974, did he survive when he ran off? Neither here nor there. When he throws a wrench at Leatherface, Leatherface falls and he cuts himself with a chainsaw and he, you know, injures his leg. That injury is in this film. So I just appreciate, now sometimes he was running a little bit too fast in this movie, especially being at his old age and also having that leg injury. But I will say I appreciated the attention to detail. He has a limp in this film, which I appreciated. Which also, going into the story, which isn't that great, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but going to what the film tries to tackle and themes that it tries to tackle, tackle, there is a narrative in regards to trauma and facing your trauma and not allowing that trauma to define you. I appreciate what the film was trying to say. It wasn't all that well executed, but I appreciate them trying to at least elaborate on overcoming your trauma. And then the last thing I want to mention with my positives, there is a tradition with horror films, but in particularly this franchise, an hour and 30 minutes and less is how they convey the story. And this film is about an hour and 30, which I appreciate. The original, I think, is an hour and 20, if I'm not mistaken. So I like horror films to get straight to the point, don't overwhelm your stay, and this film did that. So those are my positives. I do have some criticisms, a lot more than my positives, but I'm just going to get down to the things that really did bother me. I mentioned I just watched 1974 as for a lot of people they consider it a masterpiece. I really don't. But 1974, the characters, Sally and her brother Franklin, I never personally cared for the characters in the original. And I have to say, unfortunately, the same thing goes for me in this film. I'm a fan of the cast. In particular, I like Elsie Fisher, her in 8th Grade, and her in Castle Rock Season 2. I think she's a good up-and-coming actress. She's kind of I would say she's the main character in this film. And her relationship with her sister, her relationship with her sister's friends, and even her sister's friends who, if I'm not mistaken, they were supposed to be a married couple. I'm saying all this to say the chemistry amongst the cast is non-existent, and I personally didn't care if they lived or died, which, again, being a fan of horror, I want to root for our characters. I was more rooting for Leatherface to kill these characters because I personally, and it might just be me, I didn't like the characters. They were just kind of pompous and arrogant and just unlikable. And again, Elsie Fisher, without giving away her backstory, she does have something that happens to her at a young age that kind of defines who she is as a person. Again, that's the narrative I did appreciate. But outside of that, I really didn't care for her character. I didn't care about her sister and her relationship, and I didn't care for the other couple in this film. It just was non-existent. I didn't care for the characters, which sucks because I want to root for those characters. When I find myself rooting for the slasher, which, again, I'm a fan of the slasher, I'm a fan of Leatherface, but I also want our main characters to survive this situation at hand. I didn't care if they lived or died, and that just kind of speaks to the lack of connective tissue that I have for the actual characters, which get into some of the themes without giving too much away. Now, this is a thing in horror. I'm a fan of horror. I grew up with horror, like I mentioned before, and most horror films have some type of social commentary, whether it be, abuse, trauma, racism. A lot of classic horror films tackle what's going on in society, which is why I love horror. It kind of tackles the fears of what we face in everyday reality. Sometimes you want to be detached from reality, but sometimes you got to face those fears, right? So I always appreciate that. But what I appreciate about that is not just throwing an agenda, not just throwing a topic in a film without elaborating or having something to say. And this film does that. It has nothing to say with these topics. And I'll just bring up two of them. Within the first 5 minutes, this film tries to say something about gun control and also racism in America. In particular, there's a character who you think is kind of a redneck racist guy, and he's probably one of my favorite characters in the film, if I'm being honest with you all. He's not what you think, and I'll just say that. And then we have that gun control moment, which, again, the film has nothing to say about gun control in America. We go from that to having a black man, the only black character in the film, or I should say one of the leads of the black characters of the film, because there is another black girl in the movie. Only two, but we have him in the film. He gets pulled over by the police, and it's just like, come on, guys, what are you trying to say here? Nothing, because you have nothing to add to the conversation. So it just frustrated me. It's like, don't just throw in something just to be like, oh, hey, we know what's going on in the world, but you don't have anything to add to the conversation, which is just kind of stupid and just a waste of time. Which, speaking of a waste of time, Leatherface, what have you been doing for the past 50 years? Now, when you all see the film, you understand that he has developed a relationship with a particular character, which, okay, sure. But when something happens to that person he's built a relationship with, he gets the bloodthirst. But I'm like, wait, he's been chilling and kind of in confinement because of that? I didn't buy into it. And also, I will mention, they do bring back Sally, who is the original final girl from the 1974, which I like that she was in the film. This is very similar to Halloween with Laurie Strode and her. I've been waiting for this night for 50 years. And I have to say, I respect the actress. She does her thing when it comes to it, but I have to say, horror films have very moments when you're just like, that was very dumb. Like, why did you do that? And I have to say, Sally, there's a couple moments in this film where I'm like, why aren't you giving them this, and why aren't you doing this? It was frustrating. So, Sally, it was cool to see you, but I blame the script. what they did to your character in regards to some decisions that she makes in this film was very frustrating. And then the last thing I want to mention when it comes to my criticisms, the story, man, it's just like they try to, again, throw in justification. We have these young Gen X characters trying to move to Harlow and try to revamp the area. It's just like, what are we doing here? Again, I don't want to get too much to the spoiler territory. I just wasn't a fan of the story. So I have a lot more to say, but I just want to end this rant here and give you my overall thoughts of the film. But before we do so, make sure if you haven't already to like, share, comment below, and of course subscribe to the channel. Overall, 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre did not need to be made. This is a film that doesn't have much to say in its narrative. I did not care for the characters. I will say again, Leatherface is a badass. The kills were top notch. It seemed like the film had more emphasis and focus more on the kills than it did on the actual character development, the story, and the narrative. The kills are like the best part of this movie, but everything else to me did not work. So with that being said, just for the sake of the kills and Leatherface, I'll give this a 2.5 out of 5 and say, if you are a fan of Leatherface, give it a watch. But if you are someone new to the franchise, like, hey, I want to see a horror film, this might not be for you. And it wasn't for me. Like I said, I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. That's my thoughts on this film. Let me know yours in the comments. Once you've seen it, your pros, your cons. What was your favorite kill? Mine was the bus scene, followed up with the opening, the first kill in the movie. Let me know your negatives. How'd you feel about the characters, the social commentary that was in the film, and some of the character relationships? How'd you all feel about it? And do you want to see more from this franchise? Because I'll just say this, there is a post-credit scene. If you all watch the movie, stick around to the end. There is a post-credit scene. Do you want to see more? Me, I do not, but hey, we'll see what Netflix decides to do in the future. But hey, that's just my thoughts on the film. Again, I appreciate every single one of you all. If you stuck around to this point in the review, I thank you. Make sure before you leave, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. We are so close to 20,000 subscribers, and I want you to be a part of this community. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell at the same time. So hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to my channel. Check out my other content. We'll catch you all on the next video.